them teams needed a quarterback.
So
And they said, yo, we said he's never playing again.
Yeah.
So
Every owner said, make that nigga wait till Saturday at the earliest.
Yeah.
And
even the teams that needed a
sir.
quarterback was like, yo, we can't just no. All right, bet.
You draft another quarterback in front of
too.
him
And
on
they stuck to
purpose.
that.
Just to fuck.
I think the larger
Yeah,
issue is this, because I've heard people different comments saying, "Oh, it's not about this. It's about his attitude and all this other stuff." He's like his dad, and I think that, like, how do you call him an uppity Negro without calling him an uppity Negro?
But then here again though, the
it's
dude
like they
was,
saying all these things.
He was hiding behind. He was throwing a rock and he was hiding. We don't never know who said that to all these owners.
Yeah, unnamed sources.
He's unnamed
Unnamed sources is code for the racist person that we don't want to tell you who
we
they
don't
are.
want to tell you who they are. We don't want to fuck his reputation.
And just so you know,
Okay.
nobody in sports is cockier than a fucking quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay.
I played quarterback, nigga.
That part.
I've talked all the shit in the world.
You want your quarterback
Until
to
it's
be
game
cocky.
time. You want your quarterback to be
You
cocky.
need him to have a certain amount of confidence.
Any given Sunday, Willie Beeman.
Jamie played that shit. But here's the key. You do know that the other son fired Deion.
Yeah, and signed with Drew Rosenhaus.
Yes. Said, nigga, you're not.
And got drafted right
Right
after
after
30
that.
minutes afterwards.
30 minutes after.
Fired him from being Deion was his.
He was his agent.
His age. Wow.
Oh, wow.
So is Deion Shedeur's agent?
Shiloh was Deion was Shiloh's agent. He said,
And-
"Pops, I'm gonna ride this out myself," and signed with Drew Rosenhaus. And within within an hour,
Easily.
signed.
Tampa Bay.
So
He was
Shedeur's
separate.
still with Deion? So, who
Well, he
represents
stuck with the
Shedeur?
dad. Well, he should have cut it loose of the dad long time ago, just like him.
Part two.
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing. Look, this is so dope. I'm so glad we brought this up. So I text my brother, Chris, and I said, the problem with Shedeur is Deion is so closely, entangled in Shedeur's career that if let's say you drafted in the first 20 picks, right? You drafted in the first 20 picks because your team is shitty, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Most of the time, because sometimes some people trade up, but most of the time, if you draft them within the first 1 to 15, your team is shitty.
Right.
Yeah.
So now the season starts, and you have Shedeur on the bench, and your team is already shitty. That's why you drafted early, and you're losing 3 or 4 games in a row.
Easily.
And now everybody's like, "Yo, put Shedeur in," right? But now the coach is on the hot seat. Who do you think is the first person they're going to think of to hire as their new coach? We got Shedeur sitting here. Deion's going to come in and bring so much more fanfare, so much more eyes, so much more money. So you realistically, if you're a coach and you draft Shedeur in the first round, you are drafting your successor.
Yeah.
You are drafting the guy that's going to take your job.
Yeah,
I
right.
told my brother that. And about 2 hours later, Stephen A. Smith
Oh, wow.
texted my brother
Oh, wow.
and said, honestly, I don't think it had anything to do with Shedeur. If you're an NFL head coach, drafting Shedeur meant you were more than likely also drafting your replacement in Deion. If Tomlin, Steelers, drafts him and they don't win the Super Bowl, Deion will immediately be the coach next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
If Deion was a bad coach, Shedeur would have went in the first round.
So you think they saw that coming?
I said,
saw
yo,
that
I
possibility
said
coming?
the same
Yeah.
fucking thing.
Yeah.
Me and Stephen A. Smith was here.
It was a package deal.
Oh, don't. You guys should do it.
It was a package deal.
Yeah.
And
So
that's
That's
why
what
Shedeur,
coaches were afraid of that.
that's why Shedeur should have been got rid of his dad. And I love Deion. Deion, like
Of
my
course,
dude.
my favorite.
Yeah.
He
Deion
my
hands
cat.
out.
You know,
Him and Bo Jackson, greatest athletes ever.